The morning sun cast long shadows across the Earth Defense Fleet headquarters as Ambassador Lee Dae-ho reviewed the latest trade agreements with the Galactic Council. 50 years had passed since humanity first made contact with alien civilizations, and Earth had worked hard to prove itself as a worthy member of the galactic community. Lee Dae-ho straightened his uniform and smiled at the holographic display showing the 7 major alien species that ruled the galaxy. The Velthrons with their silver skin and multiple eyes, the Morvac with their ability to read minds, the warrior Kraxon with their massive frames, and 4 other species that had welcomed humanity with what seemed like open arms. "Sir, the morning. Briefing is ready," said his assistant, Kim So-ra, a young woman who had joined the diplomatic corps straight from the military academy. She handed him a data pad filled with reports from human colonies across the galaxy. "Thank you, So-ra." "Any news from the outer colonies?" Lee Dae-ho asked as he scrolled through the reports. "All quiet, sir. The usual trade reports and cultural exchange updates. The Council seems pleased with our progress," she replied, though something in her voice suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. Meanwhile, in the orbital shipyards above Earth, Captain Park Ji-woo walked through the corridors of his ship, the Soul's Pride. The vessel was impressive by human standards, but he knew the aliens considered it barely more advanced than a child's toy. The Council had been generous with some technologies, sharing basic energy shields and faster-than-light communication, but they always held back the really advanced stuff. "Captain, we're receiving new patrol orders from Fleet Command," announced Lieutenant Choi Min-ho from the bridge. The young engineer had always been curious about the alien technology they were allowed to study, often asking questions that made their alien advisors uncomfortable. Park Ji-woo took the orders and frowned. Another patrol of the Outer Rim, the same route they had been flying for months. The aliens claimed these patrols were necessary to protect human colonies from pirates, but Park Ji-woo had never actually seen any pirates. The few times they had investigated distress calls, they found empty space or colonies that had simply gone silent. "Min-ho, what do you make of these communication blackouts we keep hearing about?" Park Ji-woo asked as they prepared for departure. The engineer shrugged. "The Velthrons say it's normal. Solar interference, equipment failures, that sort of thing. But it seems to happen a lot in the outer colonies." Far from Earth, on the research station New Busan, Dr. Yoon Ha-na was having similar thoughts. As he sighed, a xenobiologist, she was supposed to be studying alien life forms and learning from the advanced species that had taken humanity under their wing. But lately she had been noticing strange patterns in the data. The biological samples she received from alien research stations didn't match the reports she was given. There were traces of human DNA in places where no humans should have been. When she asked her Velthron supervisor about it, he dismissed her concerns and told her to focus on her assigned work. "Dr. Hana, you worry too much," the alien had said, his multiple eyes blinking in what humans had learned was amusement. "These samples come from many sources. Cross-contamination is normal. But Hana knew contamination when she saw it, and this wasn't contamination. This was deliberate mixing of human and alien genetic material. She began keeping private records, storing data in hidden files that she hoped the aliens wouldn't discover. Back on Earth, in a facility buried deep beneath the mountains of Korea, General Kang Woo-jin oversaw projects that the Galactic Council knew nothing about, while humanity publicly accepted the role of junior partner in galactic affairs. They had been busy in secret. "How are the quantum weapon tests progressing?" Kang Woo-jin asked Dr. Nam Ju-young, the brilliant scientist who led their most classified research division. "Better than expected, General. We've managed to reverse engineer not just the alien technology they've shared with us, but we've improved upon it significantly. The new plasma cannons can punch through Velthron's shields like they're made of paper, Dr. Nam replied with satisfaction. The general nodded approvingly. From the beginning, humanity had played the role of eager students, grateful for any scraps of knowledge the aliens were willing to share. But humans were fast learners, and they had been applying their knowledge in ways the aliens never imagined. What about the Dimensional Drive project? Kang Wu-jin continued. Almost ready for testing. If our calculations are correct, we'll be able to travel faster than any ship in the galaxy. The aliens think they're so advanced, but they've been using the same technology for thousands of years. They've stopped innovating, Dr. Nam explained. This was humanity's secret advantage. While the alien species had become comfortable with their technology, humans continued to push boundaries and ask questions. Every piece of alien tech they were given was taken apart, studied, and rebuilt better than before. On the Soul's Pride, Captain Park Ji-woo was receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Ryu Kyung-soo, the commander of Earth's Hidden Fleet. The message was brief and coded, but Park Ji-woo understood its meaning perfectly. Prepare for Operation Deep Water. Your ship will be needed soon. Park Ji-woo had known this day would come eventually. Humanity had been building in secret for decades, constructing ships and weapons in hidden facilities throughout the solar system. The aliens thought they were monitoring all human military activity, but they were only seeing what humanity wanted them to see. Lieutenant Kim Sora, who had been monitoring alien communications as part of her diplomatic duties, was beginning to notice patterns that disturbed her. Certain phrases kept appearing in Velthron transmissions, phrases that roughly translated to specimen collection and behavioral modification. When she brought her concerns to Ambassador Lee Dae-ho, he listened carefully but urged caution. Sora, we must be careful not to let suspicion damage our relationship with the Council. They've been nothing but helpful since first contact, he said, though privately he was beginning to have his own doubts. The truth was that several high-ranking humans had started to question the aliens' motives. Too many colonies had gone silent, with vague explanations. Too many research requests had been denied. Too many times, human innovation had been dismissed as interesting but impractical. Dr. Yoon Hana continued her secret investigation, using her access to the Galactic Research Network to dig deeper into files she wasn't supposed to see. What she found made her blood run cold. References to human emotional responses under stress, breeding program optimization, and disposal of failed subjects. The aliens weren't just studying humanity, they were experimenting on them. As the day ended across human space, millions of people went about their lives believing they were part of a peaceful galactic community. They trusted their leaders and their alien allies. They believed the stories about pirates and equipment failures. But in hidden facilities and secret meetings, a small group of humans was preparing for a truth that would soon shatter everything. They thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that humanity's peaceful nature meant they were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. Yoon Hana couldn't sleep. For 3 weeks, she had been secretly accessing restricted files in the Galactic Research Database, and each discovery was worse than the last. Her hands shook as she pulled up another encrypted file that should have been far beyond her security clearance. The file opened to reveal surveillance footage from a human colony called New Hope, located in the Outer Rim territories. Hana recognized the settlement from trade reports, a peaceful farming community of about 8,000 people, including many families with children. But what she saw in the footage made her stomach turn. Alien soldiers were herding humans into containment facilities. She watched in horror as Veltron scientists injected children with unknown substances while their parents screamed. The footage was dated just 6 months ago, around the same time New Hope had officially suffered a tragic equipment failure that resulted in total loss of contact. Hana's fingers flew across her terminal as she searched for more information. File after file revealed the same pattern. Human colonies throughout the Outer Rim were being used as testing grounds for biological weapons, mind control experiments, and genetic manipulation. The Galactic Council wasn't protecting humanity. They were farming them. She found records of over 40 colonies that had been secretly destroyed or converted into research facilities. The aliens were particularly interested in human children, whose developing brains apparently responded well to neural modification experiments. Adults who resisted were eliminated, while those who cooperated were kept alive for breeding purposes. "My God," Hana whispered, as she read a report titled Project Tether, Long-Term Domestication of Human Specimens. The document outlined a plan to gradually reduce human intelligence and aggression over several generations, creating a docile workforce that would serve alien interests without question. The worst part was the casualness of it all. The aliens discussed human suffering, the same way a farmer might discuss livestock. Comments in the margins noted things like, Subject 2847 showed interesting pain responses and recommend increasing dosage for next batch of juveniles. Hana quickly began downloading everything she could find, using her clearance codes to access files from research stations across the galaxy. The scope of the operation was massive. Over the past 20 years, more than 2 million humans had disappeared, all explained away as accidents, pirate attacks, or natural disasters. She was so focused on her work that she almost missed the soft footsteps behind her. Hana spun around to find Vex Thalanor, her Veltron supervisor, standing in the doorway of her lab. His multiple eyes were focused on her screen, and his expression was definitely not friendly. "Dr. Hana, you seem to be accessing files outside. Your research parameters," Vex said in his smooth, cold voice. "This is most unusual behavior for such a cooperative species." Hana's heart pounded, but she tried to remain calm. "I was just following up on some anomalies in the biological samples. Cross-species contamination patterns seemed worth investigating." Vex moved closer, his tall frame casting a shadow over her workstation. "Curiosity is admirable but dangerous. Humans have such active imaginations, sometimes you see patterns that aren't really there." "Are you saying these files are fake?" Hana asked, gesturing toward her screen. "I'm saying that humans often misunderstand context. What appears to be one thing might be something completely different when viewed from a more advanced perspective," Vex replied. His tone was patronizing, the way an adult might speak to a confused child. Hana realized she was in serious danger. She casually moved her hand toward the emergency transmitter hidden in her desk drawer, a device that could send a priority message to Earth Command. "I think I understand now. Perhaps I should focus on my assigned research." But Vex was already reaching for a communication device. "Security to Laboratory 7. We have a contamination issue that requires immediate sterilization." Hana grabbed the transmitter and activated it just as the lab doors sealed shut. She had seconds to compose a message before Vex and his security team reached her. Her fingers moved frantically across the device as she compressed all the evidence she had gathered into a single data burst. "To Captain Park Ji-woo, Soul's Pride," she transmitted. "Council lying. Colonies destroyed. Humans being used as test subjects. Over 2 million dead. This is real. Trust no one from Council. Vex lunged for the transmitter, but Hana had already sent the message. The alien's composed demeanor cracked, revealing genuine anger beneath the surface. "Foolish human, you have no idea what you've done," he snarled. "Your species was supposed to remain ignorant for at least another generation." "So it's all true," Hana said, no longer afraid now that her message was sent. "You've been killing us for sport." "Not sport," Vex corrected. "Science. Your species has unique properties that make you ideal for certain types of research. High emotional response, rapid adaptation, interesting genetic diversity. You should feel honored to contribute to galactic advancement." Security forces entered the lab, hulking Craxon warriors who looked like they could crush a human with their bare hands. Hana backed against the wall, knowing her only hope now was that her message would reach the right people. "Your little transmission won't matter," Vex continued. "Even if it reaches your military friends, what can they do? Humanity has barely mastered interstellar travel. Your children playing with toys we gave you." Meanwhile, aboard the Soul's Pride, Captain Park Ji-woo was reviewing routine patrol reports when his communications officer received an emergency transmission on a secured channel. The message was heavily encrypted and marked with Dr. Hana's personal identification codes. "Captain, this is from Dr. Yoon Hana at the New Busan Research Station. It's marked Priority Emergency," Lieutenant Choi Min-ho announced. Park Ji-woo took the message and read it carefully. His expression grew darker with each word. The attached data files contained evidence that made his blood run cold. Footage of human children being experimented on, reports of colony accidents that were actually massacres, and research notes discussing humanity as if they were laboratory animals. "Min-ho, get me a secure line to Earth Command immediately. Use the deep encryption protocols," Park Ji-woo ordered. "Sir, those protocols are only supposed to be used for exactly this situation," Park Ji-woo interrupted. "Do it now." As the connection established, Park Ji-woo found himself looking at General Kang Woo-jin's face on the secure holographic display. The general listened without interruption as Park Ji-woo transmitted Dr. Hana's evidence. "How long has this been going on?" Kang Woo-jin asked when the transmission ended. "According to these files, at least 20 years. Maybe longer," Park Ji-woo replied. "General, they've been systematically murdering our people and using our children for experiments." The general's face was stone cold. "Captain, return to Earth immediately and transmit this information to all ship commanders using Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was the code for Prepare for War. Park Ji-woo had never expected to use it against their supposed allies in the Galactic Council. Across human space, the truth began to spread through secure military channels. Admiral Ryu Kyung-soo received the intelligence aboard his flagship and immediately began coordinating with other fleet commanders. Colonel Bae Sun-mi on Mars read the reports and started quietly mobilizing her ground forces. Ambassador Lee Dae-ho was among the last to learn the truth, and it hit him like a physical blow. For 50 years, he had worked to build trust and cooperation with the aliens. He had believed their promises of friendship and mutual benefit. Now he realized he had been helping them identify targets for their experiments. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The Galactic Council had been conducting a secret war against humanity, using them as test subjects while maintaining a facade of peaceful cooperation. They had murdered millions of innocent people, including children, all in the name of scientific advancement. But what the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this possibility all along. While publicly accepting their role as junior partners, they had been building weapons and ships in secret. They had been learning from every piece of alien technology, improving it, and preparing for the day when peaceful cooperation might not be enough. That day had finally come. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called within hours of Dr. Hana's evidence reaching Earth. President Shin A-young sat at the head of the human delegation, her face carefully controlled as she prepared to confront the beings she had once considered allies and friends. The council chamber was a massive dome floating in space above the neutral world of Kepler Prime. Representatives from all 7 major species gathered in their designated areas, their alien features, highlighted by the chamber's artificial lighting. Supreme Counselor Zeth Coriollon, a tall creature with crystalline skin, called the session to order. "We understand the humans have requested this emergency session," Zeth began, his voice echoing through the chamber's translation systems. "What matter requires such urgent attention?" President Shin stood slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. Behind her, Ambassador Lee Dae-ho and Captain Park Ji-woo flanked her position, both men struggling to maintain diplomatic composure. "Honored counselors, we have discovered evidence of systematic genocide being conducted against human populations," President Shin announced. The words fell like stones into still water, creating ripples of surprise among some alien delegations. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The footage Dr. Hana had discovered played for all to see. Alien soldiers hurting human families, scientists injecting children with unknown substances, research facilities filled with human test subjects. "These images were taken from your own research databases," President Shin continued. "They show the deliberate murder and experimentation on over 2 million human civilians, including children." The reaction was immediate and telling. Some alien species appeared genuinely shocked by the revelations. The peaceful Zalani delegation recoiled in horror, their leader making sounds of distress. But others, particularly the Velthrans and Kraxon, showed no surprise at all. Vex Thalanor rose from his position in the Velthron section. "These images are taken out of context. The humans misunderstand the nature of galactic scientific cooperation." "Cooperation?" President Shin's voice carried a dangerous edge. "Is that what you call murdering children in biological experiments?" Supreme Counselor Zeth raised a crystalline hand for silence. "The accusations are serious, but we must examine all evidence carefully. Perhaps there has been some misunderstanding about the nature of these research programs." Captain Park Ji-woo stepped forward, unable to contain himself any longer. "Misunderstanding? We have video footage of your people injecting toxins into human infants while their parents watched. What possible misunderstanding could explain that?" "Young. Human. You speak of things beyond your comprehension," interrupted War Commander Krex Valdris of the Kraxon. The massive alien's scarred face showed contempt. "Your species has benefited greatly from inclusion in galactic society. Some sacrifice is expected in return." The word sacrifice hung in the air like a poison cloud. President Shin felt the careful diplomatic facade beginning to crack. "Sacrifice?" she repeated. "You call the murder of 2 million innocent people a sacrifice?" Vex Thalanor's multiple eyes blinked in what humans had learned was condescension. "President Shin, your species is young and emotional. You see individual trees but miss the forest. These research programs have advanced galactic science by centuries. The benefits will eventually help all species, including your own. Benefits? Ambassador Lee Dae-ho finally spoke, his voice shaking with controlled rage. What benefits could possibly justify experimenting on children? The emotional volatility you're displaying now is exactly why such research is necessary, Vex replied, smoothly. Humans are naturally aggressive and unstable. We have been working to correct these flaws through selective breeding and neural modification. The chamber fell silent. The casual way Vex spoke about correcting flaws in humanity sent chills through every human present. This wasn't just genocide. It was an attempt to completely remake their species. Supreme Counselor Zeth seemed to realize the conversation was heading in a dangerous direction. Perhaps we should recess and examine this matter more carefully through proper channels. No, President Shin said firmly. We will discuss this now. We want answers, and we want the immediate return of all human prisoners in your research facilities. War Commander, Krex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Prisoners? They are research subjects, property of the Council. You have no authority to make demands here. Property? Captain Park Ji-woo took a step forward, his hand unconsciously moving toward his sidearm. You're calling human beings property? That is exactly what they are, Vex said with stunning honesty. Your species was admitted to the Council specifically for this purpose. Did you really believe we accepted you as equals? You barely understand basic physics. The mask was finally off. President Shin saw the truth in the aliens' faces, the contempt, the superiority, the complete lack of regard for human life. 50 years of peaceful cooperation had been a lie from the very beginning. We see, President Shin said quietly. So this has all been planned from first contact. Of course, Zeth replied, apparently deciding that honesty was now the best policy. Your species shows interesting properties, high emotional range, rapid adaptation, genetic diversity, perfect for long-term biological research. We have been gradually preparing your people for domestication. Domestication. Lee Dae-ho repeated the word as if it tasted foul. Yes. Over several generations, we plan to reduce your aggression and intelligence to manageable levels. You would have made excellent servants and laborers for dangerous tasks, Vex explained. Unfortunately, your discovery of our research programs has accelerated our timeline considerably. War Commander Krex stood to his full imposing height. Since the humans now know the truth, I recommend we simply terminate the experiment entirely. A quick sterilization of their homeworld would solve the problem efficiently. The casual discussion of genocide sent shockwaves through the human delegation. President Shin realized they were no longer in a diplomatic meeting. They were in a predator's den, and the predators were deciding whether to eat them immediately or save them for later. You would murder our entire species? She asked. Not murder, Zeth corrected. Pest control. Your emotional outburst proves that the domestication program was necessary. Wild humans are clearly too dangerous to remain free. The human delegation exchanged glances. Each of them was thinking the same thing. They needed to get this information back to Earth immediately. But they also realized they might not be leaving this chamber alive. However, Vex continued, before we take such drastic action, perhaps we should give humanity one final opportunity to submit peacefully. Surrender your military forces, accept council oversight of your government, and allow us to complete the domestication program voluntarily. We might allow a small breeding population to survive. President Shin stood in stunned silence for a moment, processing the magnitude of what she was hearing. The beings she had worked with for decades, the aliens who had welcomed humanity into galactic society, were casually discussing the enslavement or extinction of her entire species. "I need to consult with my government," she said carefully. "You have 72 hours, Supreme Counselor Zeth announced. "After that, we will assume you have chosen extinction over domestication." As the human delegation prepared to leave the chamber, War Commander Krex called out one final threat. "And humans, do not attempt anything foolish. Your primitive weapons are no match for our fleets. Resistance will only make your extinction more painful." The aliens had made a critical error. They had revealed their true intentions while still believing humanity was weak and defenseless. They had no idea that while they were planning genocide, humans had been preparing for war. President Shin's last thought as she left the chamber was not about diplomacy or negotiation. It was about revenge. The aliens had just declared war on humanity, and they were about to discover that humans were very, very good at war. The moment President Shin's transport left the council chamber, she activated the most secure communication channel Earth possessed. Within minutes, every human military commander in the galaxy received a single coded message. Condition Black. Execute Protocol 0. General Kang Woo-jin received the signal in his hidden command center beneath the Korean mountains. For 50 years he had prepared for this moment, building weapons and ships in secret while the aliens believed they were monitoring all human military activity. Now it was time to reveal what humanity had really been doing. Activate all dormant facilities, he ordered his staff. Begin Phase 1 revelation. Across human space, hidden installations came online. Asteroid mining operations revealed themselves to be weapons manufacturing plants. Scientific research stations dropped their disguises to show massive shipyards. Trade vessels opened concealed weapon bays that had been hidden for decades. Admiral Ryu Kyung-soo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Incheon Rising, as hundreds of ships appeared on his displays. The vessels emerged from stealth fields, asteroid hiding places, and dimensional pockets that the aliens didn't even know existed. Each ship was armed with weapons that made alien technology look primitive. "Admiral, all ships report ready for combat operations," announced Commander Yang Hye-jin from her position at the tactical station. "The fleet stands at 837 vessels. Ryu smiled grimly. The aliens thought humanity barely had 100 ships capable of interstellar warfare. They were about to discover they had been watching decoys and civilian vessels while the real fleet remained hidden. On Mars, Colonel Bae Sun-mi walked through the underground facility that housed her Special Forces units. These weren't the ceremonial guards the aliens had been shown during diplomatic visits. These were hardened soldiers who had been training in secret for orbital assault, shipboarding, and alien combat techniques. "Colonel, we've received confirmation codes from Earth Command," reported Major Oh Tae-jun, her second in command. "All units are authorized to move to combat readiness." Bae nodded as she reviewed the mission parameters on her tactical display. Human intelligence had been gathering information on alien military installations for decades. Every major alien homeworld, every military base, every defense grid, humanity knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect. Meanwhile, Captain Park Ji-woo was experiencing his own revelation as he returned to the Soul's Pride. The ship he commanded had always seemed primitive compared to alien vessels, but now technicians were removing panels to reveal hidden weapon systems that had been installed years ago. "Captain, the retrofit is complete," announced engineer Choi Min-ho with undisguised excitement. We now have quantum torpedo launchers, plasma beam arrays, and shield systems that can absorb anything the aliens can throw at us. Park Ji-woo watched in amazement as his ship transformed from a simple patrol vessel into a warship that could match anything in the alien fleets. The Soul's Pride had been built specifically to appear weak while hiding devastating firepower. Dr. Namju Young emerged from her laboratory carrying a small device that looked deceptively simple. General Kang. Woo Jin met her in the secure briefing room where President Shin was coordinating the military response via holographic conference. "Madam President, I present the Reality Ripper," Dr. Nam announced, holding up the device. "This weapon can destabilize space-time itself. A single unit can collapse the quantum structure holding a moon together." President Shin stared at the device in amazement. "How long have we had this capability?" "The research began 30 years ago," General Kang replied. "We started with alien energy technology and improved it beyond anything they could imagine. Turns out, when you don't spend 1,000 years becoming comfortable with your technology, you can make remarkable advances. The truth was that humanity's greatest advantage had always been their curiosity and drive to improve. While alien species had become stagnant, using the same technology for millennia, humans had been constantly innovating and pushing boundaries." Agent Hong Soo-bin materialized in the briefing room, having infiltrated the meeting using stealth technology the aliens didn't know existed. As head of human intelligence operations, she had spent decades placing operatives throughout alien society. "Madam President, our people are in position," she reported. "We have agents on every major alien homeworld, and in most of their military installations. When you give the word, we can disable their communication networks and defense grids simultaneously." President Shin was beginning to understand the scope of humanity's secret preparations. How many people knew about this? Need-to-know basis only, General Kang explained. About 5,000 humans across the galaxy were involved in the military preparations. Everyone else genuinely believed we were the peaceful junior partners the aliens thought we were. The deception had been necessary. Humans were naturally expressive, and the aliens' psychic abilities would have detected any widespread knowledge of military preparations. Only a small group of specially trained individuals had been trusted with the truth. Captain Kim So-ra, now revealed to be a military intelligence officer rather than a simple diplomatic aide, provided updates on alien fleet movements. "The Council is mobilizing their forces, but slowly. They don't see us as a real threat yet." "How long before they realize their mistake?" President Shin asked. "Not long," Admiral Ryu replied from his position aboard the Incheon Rising. "Our deep space monitoring stations are picking up increased alien military activity. War Commander, Krex is gathering the Kraxon battle fleets." Dr. Yoon Hana's voice joined the conference from a rescue ship that had extracted her from the research station. "Madam President, I've been analyzing the alien research files during my escape. They have detailed psychological profiles on human behavior patterns. They think they understand how we'll react to their ultimatum." "What do they expect us to do?" President Shin asked. "Panic, surrender, or make desperate attempts at negotiation," Hana replied. "They're expecting us to behave like frightened prey animals. They have no concept that we might fight back effectively." This was humanity's secret weapon. The aliens had studied them, but they had studied them as test subjects, not as potential enemies. They understood human emotions and biology, but they had completely missed human capacity for strategic thinking and military innovation. General Kang activated a holographic display showing the galaxy with marked alien positions. We have 72 hours before their ultimatum expires. That gives us time for exactly one coordinated strike. After that, they'll know what we're capable of and adjust accordingly. What are you recommending? President Shin asked. Total war. Admiral Ryu answered bluntly. We hit every alien military installation simultaneously. We cripple their fleets before they can coordinate a response. We show them that threatening human children was the worst mistake they could have made. The room fell silent as the weight of the decision settled on everyone present. They were talking about starting a galactic war against species that had ruled space for thousands of years. The stakes couldn't be higher. Failure would mean the extinction of humanity. But President Shin thought about the footage she had seen. Human children being experimented on while their parents watched helplessly. She thought about the casual way the aliens had discussed domesticating her species like livestock. How confident are we in our military capabilities? She asked. Dr. Nam smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Madam President, we've spent 50 years studying their technology and improving on it. Our weapons are decades ahead of anything they possess. Our ships are faster, stronger, and more maneuverable than theirs. And our people? President Shin continued. Colonel Bay's voice carried absolute conviction. Our soldiers have been training for this scenario their entire careers. They know what's at stake. They know what the aliens did to our colonies. They're ready to fight. President Shin made her decision. Send the response to the Galactic Council. Tell them we reject their ultimatum. Tell them that any species that experiments on children has forfeit their right to exist. The die was cast. Humanity was about to reveal that their peaceful nature had been hiding the heart of a predator. The aliens were about to learn why humans had conquered their own planet before ever reaching the stars. War was coming, and humanity was ready. President Shin A-young stood before the galactic transmission array, knowing that her next words would be heard across every inhabited system in the galaxy. Behind her, the flags of Earth and its colonies hung proudly, while in front of her, cameras prepared to broadcast humanity's response to the Council's ultimatum. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the transmission systems. 72 hours ago, the Galactic Council revealed their true intentions toward humanity. They demanded our surrender, our acceptance of domestication, and the right to continue experimenting on our people like laboratory animals. Her pause was deliberate, letting the weight of those words settle across the galaxy. Today, humanity gives our answer. We reject your ultimatum completely. We demand the immediate return of all human prisoners in your research facilities. We demand full reparations for the 2.3 million humans you have murdered. We demand the surrender of those responsible for these crimes against our species. President Shin's expression hardened as she continued. Any species that conducts experiments on children has forfeited their right to exist as a free civilization. You have 72 hours to comply with our demands. After that, humanity will consider all Council member species to be enemies of human survival. The transmission ended, and President Shin knew there was no going back. Across the galaxy, alien leaders would be scrambling to respond to what they would see as an impossible threat from a primitive species. On the Velthron homeworld, Supreme Counselor Zeth Coriolan convened an emergency meeting of the Council's military leadership. His crystalline features reflected the anger and disbelief of his fellow council members. "This is intolerable," snarled War Commander Krex Valdris. "The humans dare to make demands of their superiors. They threaten us with their toy ships." Vex, Thalanor remained calm, his multiple eyes analyzing the situation. Their response was predictable. Humans are emotional creatures. They will make dramatic gestures before accepting reality. "Should we accelerate our timeline?" asked Admiral Kex Morvakis of the psychic Morvac species. "My ships could reach Earth within 48 hours. Zeth nodded slowly. "Yes. Send the main battle fleet to the Sol system. When the humans see our overwhelming firepower, they will surrender quickly. We can complete the sterilization process and move forward with colonizing their worlds." The Council had made a critical miscalculation. They believed their own propaganda about human weakness and primitiveness. They had no idea that while they planned humanity's destruction, humans were preparing to show them what real warfare looked like. War Commander Krex assembled the largest alien armada in galactic history. 3,000 ships from 5 different species, armed with weapons capable of cracking planets. The fleet was commanded from his flagship, the Inexorable, a massive dreadnought that had never lost a battle. "Admiral Kex, what is the psychological profile on human behavior under extreme stress?" Krex asked as the fleet prepared to depart. "Panic, desperation, eventual submission," the Morvac replied confidently. "When they see our fleet, their primitive brains will be overwhelmed by fear. We expect complete surrender within hours of our arrival." As the alien armada moved toward human space, intelligence networks across the galaxy buzzed with activity. Most species expected to hear of humanity's quick surrender within days. Some, like the peaceful Zalani, privately hoped the humans would find a way to avoid extinction. But Agent Hong Subin and her operatives were already moving into position. On the Kraxon homeworld, human intelligence operative Ryu Min-jung had spent 15 years posing as a trade representative. Now she activated sleeper agents throughout the alien military infrastructure. "Phase 1 is complete," she reported, through quantum-encrypted channels. "All major communication hubs are compromised. When you give the signal, we can black out their entire command network." Similar reports came in from agents on every Council homeworld. Humans had been infiltrating alien society for decades, and now their patience would pay off. Dr. Yoon Ha-na worked frantically in her new laboratory aboard the rescue ship, analyzing the alien research data she had escaped with. Her discoveries grew more horrifying by the hour. "They weren't just experimenting on our people," she reported to General Kang Woo-jin. "They were studying our tactical thinking, our problem-solving abilities, our capacity for violence. They have detailed psychological profiles on human military behavior." "What did they conclude?" the general asked. "That we're unpredictable in small groups but predictable in large ones. They think they understand how human fleets will behave in battle," Hana replied. "They're expecting us to fight like they do. Formal formations, predictable tactics, honor-based combat protocols." General Kang smiled grimly. "They studied us like laboratory specimens, not like warriors. They have no idea what humans are capable of when we stop playing by the rules." This was humanity's greatest advantage. The aliens had observed human behavior, but only the behavior of peaceful civilians and diplomatic personnel. They had never seen humans in actual combat, never witnessed the creativity and ruthlessness that had made humanity the dominant species on Earth. Captain Park Ji-woo received his final orders aboard the Soul's Pride as it took position with Admiral Ryu's hidden fleet. The message was simple but chilling. Show them why apex predators don't experiment on each other's young. The human fleet waited in the outer reaches of the Sol system, hidden behind dimensional shields and stealth fields that made them invisible to alien sensors. 800 ships armed with weapons the aliens couldn't detect or counter, all waiting for the moment to reveal themselves. Engineer Choi Min-ho made final adjustments to the Soul's Pride's weapon systems. "Captain, the quantum torpedoes are armed and ready. Our targeting systems have locks on 60 alien vessels." "How many torpedoes do we carry?" Park asked. "Enough to turn their entire fleet into expanding clouds of plasma," Choi replied with satisfaction. On Mars, Colonel Bae Sunmi's special forces completed their final preparations. Major Oh Taijun's commandos had trained specifically for boarding alien vessels and capturing alien commanders alive. The aliens expected humans to fight at long range like civilized species. They were about to discover that humans excelled at close-quarters combat. "Colonel, our insertion ships are ready," Oh reported. "We can have boarding parties on their command vessels within minutes of the shooting starting." "Remember the priority targets," Bae instructed. "We want the alien commanders alive if possible. They have information we need about other research facilities." Dr. Nam Ju-young put the finishing touches on her most devastating creation. The Reality Ripper had been scaled up from a tactical weapon to a strategic one. A single device could now destabilize the quantum foundation of an entire star system. "General, the weapon is ready for deployment," she reported to Kang Woo-jin. "One shot from this will make the alien homeworld uninhabitable for 1,000 years." "How many do we have?" the general asked. 12. "One for each major alien world," Dr. Nam replied. The clock continued counting down toward the alien ultimatum. Across human space, civilians were being evacuated to secure facilities while military personnel took their positions. Humanity was about to go to war, and they were ready to fight with everything they had. The alien fleet approached the Sol system, confident in their overwhelming numerical advantage. War Commander Krex stood on his bridge, already planning the division of human territories among the Council species. "Humans," he muttered to his tactical officer. "They talk about resistance, but they've never faced real military power. This will be over quickly." Admiral Kex nodded in agreement. "Their minds are already broadcasting fear and desperation. When they see our fleet, they will break completely." The aliens had studied humanity for 50 years, but they had learned all the wrong lessons. They understood human biology and psychology, but they had completely missed human capacity for strategic deception and tactical innovation. They were about to receive a very painful education in what happened when apex predators stopped pretending to be prey. The alien armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system like a swarm of metallic locusts. 3,000 ships arranged in perfect formation, their weapons already charging for what they expected to be a quick and decisive battle. War Commander Krex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inexorable, and smiled at the tactical display. Ahead of him, exactly where his intelligence had predicted, waited the human fleet. 800 small ships arranged in what appeared to be a desperate defensive formation around Earth. "Primitive fools," Krex muttered to his tactical officer. "They're using standard defensive formations from our own military manuals, predictable to the end." Admiral Kex Morvakis, commanding the Psychic Attack Squadron, reached out with his mental abilities to probe the human fleet. "I can sense their fear, War Commander. Their minds are screaming with terror. They know they cannot win." What Admiral Kex actually sensed was carefully projected false emotions from human psych warfare specialists who had trained for decades to fool alien telepaths. The real human emotions were hidden behind mental shields the aliens didn't know existed. Aboard the Incheon Rising, Admiral Ryu Kyung-soo watched the alien formation with professional interest. His tactical displays showed every enemy ship, their weapon signatures, shield frequencies, and structural weak points. Human intelligence had been studying alien military technology for 50 years, and now that knowledge would pay off. "Admiral, all ships report ready for combat," announced Commander Yang Hyejin. "The enemy has taken the bait perfectly." Ryu nodded as he activated his fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Ryu. Remember what they did to our children. Remember the colonies they destroyed. Show them what happens when predators threaten human families." Captain Park Ji-woo received the signal aboard the Soul's Pride and felt a cold rage settle over him. Through his ship's sensors, he could see the massive alien dreadnoughts advancing with casual confidence, their commanders probably already planning victory celebrations. "All weapons ready, Captain," reported Engineer Choi Min-ho. "Quantum torpedoes, loaded and targeted." "Fire," Park ordered. The Soul's Pride unleashed a barrage of quantum torpedoes that moved faster than alien sensors could track. The weapons had been designed specifically to penetrate Council shield technology, using quantum entanglement to bypass energy barriers entirely. War Commander Krex watched in shock as his forward squadrons simply vanished. One moment, 50 Kraxon. Battle cruisers were advancing in perfect formation. The next moment, they were expanding clouds of superheated plasma. "What just happened?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Unknown weapon impact, sir. Complete destruction of the advance guard. No energy signatures detected before impact." Across the alien fleet, similar scenes of destruction played out as human ships revealed their true capabilities. The primitive vessels that aliens had been observing for decades suddenly began moving with impossible speed and agility, their weapons cutting through alien defenses like they didn't exist. Admiral Kex tried to penetrate human minds to understand their tactics, but found himself facing mental barriers he couldn't breach. "War Commander, something is wrong. I cannot read their intentions. It's as if their minds are shielded." "Impossible," Krex snarled. "Humans don't have psychic abilities. But humans did have something else. They had studied alien psychic warfare and developed technological countermeasures. Every human ship carried psi-dampening fields that turned alien telepathic advantages into useless noise. The battle quickly became a slaughter. Alien ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries found themselves outmatched by human technology. They couldn't understand or counter. The weapons humanity had developed in secret were generations ahead of anything the Council possessed. Captain Park Ji-woo's ship alone destroyed 12 alien vessels in the first 5 minutes of combat. His quantum torpedoes ignored alien shields. His plasma cannons burned through alien armor like paper, and his ship's AI-assisted targeting systems allowed him to engage multiple enemies simultaneously. "Captain, we're receiving a surrender request from the alien destroyer Vex Thol," Choi reported with surprise. "Denied," Park replied coldly. "They didn't accept surrender from our children." The alien formation began to collapse as ship after ship was destroyed or disabled. War Commander Krex found himself facing a tactical situation unlike anything in his military experience. His superior numbers meant nothing when human weapons could destroy his ships faster than he could deploy them. "All ships, execute tactical." "Withdrawal," he ordered desperately. "Sir, our faster-than-light drives are being jammed," his navigator reported. "The humans have some kind of dimensional interference field." Admiral Ryu had indeed prepared for exactly this situation. Human ships carried FTL inhibitors that prevented enemy vessels from escaping the battle zone. The aliens who had come to massacre humanity would not be leaving to warn their homeworlds. On the surface of Mars, Colonel Bae Sunmi launched the second phase of humanity's assault. Her Special Forces units, equipped with boarding pods designed to penetrate alien hull armor, began targeting the larger enemy vessels. Major Oh Tai-jun led the assault on a Morvac battlecruiser, his commandos moving through the alien ship's corridors with deadly efficiency. The aliens had never faced human soldiers in close combat, and were unprepared for humanity's combination of tactical intelligence and physical aggression. Alien bridge secured, Oh reported as his team captured the ship's command crew. Enemy! Commanders are alive and ready for interrogation. Similar boarding actions across the alien fleet resulted in the capture of dozens of alien officers. Humans wanted answers about other research facilities and hidden alien operations, and they were prepared to get those answers by any means necessary. Dr. Nam Ju-young observed the battle from her position aboard the command ship, monitoring the performance of humanity's secret weapons. The quantum torpedoes performed even better than expected, the plasma cannons showed remarkable effectiveness against alien armor, and the dimensional jamming systems worked perfectly. General, our weapons are performing at 120% of projected efficiency, she reported to Kang Woo-jin. The aliens have no effective countermeasures. The reason was simple. The aliens had become comfortable with their technology over thousands of years. They used the same weapons, the same tactics, the same strategies their ancestors had used. Humans, meanwhile, had been innovating and improving constantly, treating every piece of alien technology as a puzzle to be solved and improved upon. War Commander Krex watched his mighty armada being systematically destroyed by ships he had dismissed as primitive toys. In desperation, he activated the Inexorable's most powerful weapon, a planet-cracking plasma cannon that had never failed to destroy anything it targeted. The massive beam of energy struck the Incheon Rising directly, and for a moment, Krex thought he had finally found something that could hurt the human ships. Then the energy beam was absorbed harmlessly by the human vessel's shields, and return fire from Admiral Ryu's ship cut the Inexorable in half. "This is impossible," Krex whispered, as his flagship died around him. "How can primitives defeat us?" His last thought was the realization that humans weren't primitives at all. They were apex predators who had been hiding their true nature for 50 years, waiting for exactly this moment to reveal what they were really capable of. Admiral Kex, commanding the survivors of the alien fleet from his damaged cruiser, attempted one final psychic attack against the human command ship. He gathered every telepathic warrior in his fleet and focused their combined mental power in a devastating assault designed to drive human commanders insane. The psychic attack struck the Incheon Rising and was immediately absorbed by human psi-dampening technology. Admiral Ryu didn't even notice the alien mental assault, but his ship's AI did track the psychic energy signatures back to their sources. "Commander Yang, eliminate the psychic attack ships," Ryu ordered calmly. The remaining Morvac vessels were destroyed in seconds, their telepathic crews dying before they could understand how their most powerful weapons had been turned against them. The battle that was supposed to demonstrate alien superiority instead became a complete disaster for the Galactic Council. Of the 3,000 ships that had arrived to destroy humanity, fewer than 50 survived, and most of those were captured rather than escaped. As the last alien vessel was destroyed or captured, Admiral Ryu activated his fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, Phase 1 is complete. Prepare for Phase 2. We're taking this war to their homeworlds." The aliens had come to Sol expecting to find frightened prey begging for mercy. Instead, they had encountered apex predators who were ready to hunt them across the galaxy. The first battle of the war was over, and humanity had won so decisively that the entire balance of galactic power had shifted in a matter of hours. War Commander Krex's dying words proved prophetic. Humans weren't primitives. They were the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen, and they had just declared war on everyone who threatened their children. Within hours of the Sol system victory, human fleets appeared simultaneously in 12 star systems across the galaxy. Each alien homeworld faced the same terrifying sight: hundreds of human warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, with weapons already charged and targeting systems locked onto planetary defenses. Admiral Ryu Kyung-soo personally led the assault on Velthros Prime, homeworld of the species that had orchestrated humanity's planned domestication. His flagship, the Incheon Rising, broadcast a simple message as the human fleet took position around the planet. "This is Admiral Ryu of the Human Empire. You have conducted illegal experiments on human children. You have murdered 2.3 million innocent civilians. Surrender now or face the consequences of your actions." On the planet's surface, Vex Thalanor cowered in his research facility, watching through orbital sensors as human ships surrounded his world. The same aliens who had casually discussed exterminating humanity now found themselves facing extinction at human hands. "How is this possible?" Vex transmitted desperately to the human fleet. "Your technology was primitive. Your ships were inferior, Commander," Yang He-jin responded from the Incheon Rising's bridge. "We spent 50 years studying your technology while you thought we were playing with toys. Every system you showed us, we reverse-engineered and improved. Every weakness you displayed, we learned to exploit." The truth was devastating for the aliens to comprehend. While they had been comfortable in their technological superiority, humans had been working frantically to not just match their capabilities, but exceed them. The primitive human ships had always been more advanced than alien vessels. They had simply been disguised to appear inferior. Dr. Nam Ju-young activated the orbital bombardment systems targeting the Velthron research facilities. "Admiral, we have locks on all installations where human prisoners are being held. Precision strikes can eliminate the laboratories without harming the captives." "Execute," Admiral Ryu ordered coldly. Quantum torpedoes rained down on Velthros Prime, each one precisely targeted to destroy research facilities, weapons production centers, and military installations. The aliens watched helplessly as decades of their work was erased in minutes. On the Kraxon homeworld of Craxter, Colonel Bae Sun-mi led a different kind of assault. Rather than orbital bombardment, her special forces had been assigned to capture alien military leaders alive. The warrior species that had bragged about their combat prowess were about to face human soldiers in their natural element. Major Oh Tai-jun's commandos struck the Kraxon Military Academy like ghosts in the night. The alien warriors who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries found themselves helpless against human tactics they couldn't understand or counter. "Target secured," O reported as his team captured General Thrak Ironhide, the Kraxon's supreme military commander. "Package is ready for extraction." The Kraxon had built their reputation on individual combat skills and brute force tactics. They had no defense against human squad-based warfare, electronic warfare capabilities, and the pure creativity that humans brought to every engagement. Colonel Bae's forces systematically captured every major Kraxon military installation on the planet. The species that had planned to cleanse humanity found their own military structure dismantled in a single night. Agent Hong Subin coordinated the intelligence warfare aspect of humanity's assault. Her operatives, who had spent decades infiltrating alien society, simultaneously activated across the galaxy. Communication networks went dark, defense grids failed, and government databases were either destroyed or downloaded into human systems. Phase 3 complete, she reported to General Kang Woo-jin. All major alien military and political networks are compromised. They can't coordinate a response, even if they had the capability. On the Morvac homeworld, the psychic species that had assisted in human experimentation faced their own reckoning. Captain Park Ji-woo commanded the assault fleet that appeared over their planet, his soul's pride now revealed as one of humanity's most advanced warships. The Morvac attempted to use their collective psychic abilities to drive the human attackers insane, but found their mental attacks useless against human psi-dampening technology. Worse, Dr. Nam's teams had developed weapons that specifically targeted psychic neural structures. Unknown energy signature detected, reported the Morvac. Planetary Defense Coordinator. It's interfering with our telepathic abilities. Impossible, replied Admiral Kex Morvakis from his damaged flagship in orbit. No species can block psychic energy. Captain Park activated his ship's psychic suppression field, a weapon designed specifically to neutralize Morvac mental abilities. Across the planet's surface, millions of Morvac suddenly found themselves cut off from the telepathic network that had connected their species for millennia. Consider this payment for every human child you helped torture, Park transmitted as his fleet began systematic strikes against Morvac research facilities. The assault continued across alien space as human fleets appeared at every major council world. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years found themselves utterly helpless against human military technology and tactics. On Zephyros, homeworld of the crystalline Zephyrians, Supreme Counselor Zeth Coriolan watched in horror as human ships destroyed the orbital platforms where human prisoners had been held. His species had been instrumental in planning humanity's domestication, and now they faced the consequences of that decision. "Transmit surrender terms to the human fleet," he ordered desperately. "Sir, they're not responding to our communications," his aide reported. "All channels are being jammed." Dr. Yoon Ha-na, working from the human command ship, had provided detailed intelligence on every alien research facility. Her escape from Velthron custody had given humanity precise locations of human prisoners, allowing surgical strikes that freed captives while eliminating their captors. "Facility 7 secured," reported one assault team. 43 human survivors recovered. Medical teams are providing treatment. Similar reports came in from across the galaxy as human prisoners were freed from alien research installations. Many of the survivors bore the scars of alien experimentation, and their testimonies only strengthened human resolve to completely destroy the Council's power structure. Engineer Choi Min-ho coordinated the technical aspects of the assault, using humanity's superior understanding of alien technology to disable defensive systems and jam communications. Every piece of alien equipment the humans had been shown over 50 years had been studied, analyzed, and countered. Their shield generators use quantum resonance frequencies, he explained to Colonel Bay during the Craxon assault. Our disruptor beams can collapse their defenses in seconds. The systematic destruction continued for days as human forces methodically eliminated every aspect of Council military power. Alien fleets were destroyed, military installations captured, and government leaders either killed or taken prisoner. President Shin A-young coordinated the overall campaign from Earth, receiving reports as each alien homeworld fell to human assault. The species that had planned humanity's extinction were being systematically conquered by the very people they had underestimated. Madam President, Velthros Prime has surrendered unconditionally, Admiral Ryu reported. Crackstor is under our control. The Morvac homeworld is requesting terms. No terms, President Shin replied firmly. Total surrender or total destruction. They showed no mercy to our children. The final phase of the assault targeted the Council's central authority on Kepler Prime. The neutral world where humanity had first learned of alien treachery was now surrounded by the largest human fleet ever assembled. General Kang Woo-jin personally led this final assault, bringing with him the ultimate expression of human technological advancement. The reality ripper scaled up to strategic levels. The weapon could destabilize the quantum foundation of an entire star system. All Council species, he broadcast to the planet below. You declared war on humanity when you chose to experiment on our children. This is your defeat. The weapon fired once, creating a quantum cascade that would make Kepler Prime uninhabitable for 1,000 years. The heart of Council authority simply ceased to exist, erased from the universe as payment for humanity's murdered children. Across the galaxy, the remaining alien populations received the same message: surrender completely, accept human authority, and face justice for their crimes against humanity. Resistance would result in extinction. The war that was supposed to eliminate humanity as a threat had instead eliminated the Galactic Council as a power structure. In less than a week, humans had gone from threatened prey to galactic apex predators. The aliens learned too late that a species capable of great love is equally capable of great wrath. Humanity had offered friendship and received betrayal. Now, they would offer only justice, and mercy would be earned rather than assumed. 6 months after the last Council fleet was destroyed, President Shin A-young stood before the newly constructed Galactic Assembly building on Earth. The chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species, but the dynamic had changed completely. Humans now sat at the head table, while former Council members occupied designated areas under armed guard. The Human Galactic Empire officially recognizes this assembly, President Shin announced, her voice carrying the authority of absolute victory. All participating species will operate under human oversight until such time as they prove worthy of autonomous governance. The transformation had been swift and merciless. Every species that had participated in the genocide of human colonies now existed as protectorates under direct human control. Their governments had been dissolved, their military forces disbanded, and their territories occupied by human peacekeeping forces. Ambassador Lee Dae-ho, now serving as Minister of Alien Affairs, read the formal charges against the former Council leadership. Supreme Counselor Zeth Corialon sat in a containment field, his crystalline features reflecting the harsh lights of the assembly hall. For the crime of genocide against human civilians, including children, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. On the penal colony of Titan 7, Lee announced, your species will remain under human authority for a minimum of 100 years. Similar sentences were handed down to surviving Council leaders. War Commander Krex had died in the Sol system battle, but his surviving officers faced execution for their role in planning human extermination. The aliens who had casually discussed domesticating humanity now found themselves subject to human justice. Admiral Ryu Kyung-soo commanded the new Imperial fleet from his flagship, now renamed the Humanity's Vengeance. His ships patrolled the galaxy, ensuring that no species would ever again mistake human compassion for weakness. Admiral, we're receiving reports of slaver activity in the Antares sector, Commander Yang Hyejin reported. Non-council species attempting to profit from the power vacuum. Deploy the Third Fleet, Ryu ordered. Standard protocol. Destroy the slaver ships and free their captives. Make it clear that slavery is no longer tolerated in our galaxy. The human expansion had created unexpected benefits for other species. Civilizations that had been oppressed by council authority found themselves liberated by human intervention. The peaceful Zelani, who had opposed the genocide from the beginning, were granted full autonomy and protection under human law. Dr. Yoon Ha-na worked tirelessly to help human survivors of alien experimentation. Medical facilities across Earth treated former prisoners using advanced alien technology, now under human control, to reverse the damage done by years of torture and genetic manipulation. How many survivors have we recovered? President Shin asked during her weekly briefing. 47,000 so far, Ha-na reported. We're still finding hidden research facilities. The Council's records were incomplete, but our interrogation of captured scientists is providing new locations regularly. Each discovery of human prisoners strengthened public support for the harsh measures being taken against former Council species. The galaxy was learning that threatening human families had consequences that lasted for generations. Captain Park Ji-woo, now promoted to Admiral of the Colonial Defense Force, oversaw the reconstruction of destroyed human settlements. The Soul's Pride had been retired to a place of honor, but Park commanded new ships that made his original vessel look primitive. The New Hope colony is ready for resettlement, reported his aide, Colonel Kim So-ra. We've established defensive systems that can repel any conceivable attack. The rebuilt human colonies were fortresses as much as civilian settlements. Humanity would never again allow their people to be vulnerable to alien aggression. Every human world was now protected by weapons that could destroy entire fleets. General Kang Woo-jin had become the architect of humanity's military dominance, overseeing research programs that continued to advance human technology far beyond anything aliens had achieved. Dr. Nam Ju-young's weapons division had moved beyond reverse engineering alien technology to creating entirely new branches of science. The dimensional fold drives are ready for deployment, Dr. Nam reported. Our ships can now travel between galaxies in a matter of days. We're no longer limited to local space. The implications were staggering. Humanity could expand beyond their home galaxy, carrying their protection to human populations anywhere in the universe. They could also pursue any alien species that attempted to flee human justice. Agent Hong Subin's intelligence network had grown to encompass every inhabited world in the galaxy. Her operatives monitored alien populations for signs of rebellion while also identifying species that might pose future threats to human security. We've detected communications suggesting the Andrathi Collective is planning resistance operations, she reported to the Security Council. They're attempting to contact isolated Council remnants. Eliminate the threat, President Shin ordered without hesitation. Make it clear that plotting against humanity results in extinction. The Andrathi learned this lesson within hours as human strike teams systematically destroyed their government and military structure. The galaxy was witnessing the establishment of human hegemony, and resistance was being met with overwhelming force. Colonel Bae Sun-mi's special forces had evolved into the galaxy's most feared military unit. Major Oh Tai-jun's commandos could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours, striking targets with precision that terrified potential enemies. Ma'am, the Hegemony Council is requesting permission to establish trade relations. O reported during a briefing on Mars. Approved, but with standard restrictions, Bay replied. No technology transfers, human oversight of all transactions, and immediate termination if they show any signs of military development. The new galactic order was built on human supremacy backed by overwhelming military force. Species that cooperated with human authority were allowed to maintain their cultures and limited self-governance. Those that resisted faced occupation or extinction. Engineer Choi Min-ho worked with teams of captured alien scientists to understand the full scope of Council research programs. Many discoveries led to new human colonies being established on worlds that had been secretly developed by alien species. Sir, we found evidence of 17 additional worlds that were terraformed using human biological samples, he reported to Admiral Ryu. The aliens were planning to use them as breeding farms. These worlds were immediately claimed by the human empire and converted into military bases or civilian colonies. The aliens' own research had expanded human territory far beyond what they could have achieved through normal exploration. Dr. Nam Ju-young's ultimate weapon, the Reality Ripper, had been refined into a galaxy-wide deterrent system. Strategic weapons were positioned throughout human space, capable of eliminating any threat to human survival within minutes. Madam President, the deterrent grid is complete, she reported. Any species that attempts to develop weapons of mass destruction will face immediate retaliation. The system ensured that no alien civilization would ever again pose an existential threat to humanity. The galaxy had learned that crossing the line with human children resulted in species-ending consequences. President Shin concluded her address to the Galactic Assembly with words that would be remembered for centuries. Humanity offered you friendship, and you chose to see us as prey. We showed you mercy, and you mistook it for submission. We will never make the mistake of underestimating malice again, and we suggest you never make the mistake of underestimating humanity. The applause from human representatives echoed through the chamber, while alien delegates sat in stunned silence. The species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were now subjects of the very people they had planned to domesticate. Ambassador Lee Dae-ho rose to deliver the final statement of the session. The human galactic empire will endure for as long as our children need protection. Any species that threatens human families will face the full wrath of human civilization. This is not a threat, it is a promise. As delegates filed out of the assembly hall, the new reality of galactic politics was clear to everyone present. Humanity had become the apex predator in a galaxy full of former predators. They had learned that sometimes peace could only be maintained through the credible threat of overwhelming violence. The aliens had wanted to study human nature. Now they understood it completely. Humans were capable of infinite compassion for those they protected and infinite wrath against those who threatened their loved ones. The galaxy would remember this lesson for generations to come. The human empire had begun, built on the ashes of species that had forgotten the most important rule of survival: never threaten an apex predator's young.